You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more.
Well, power man, this is your boy Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. And today, we got a big homie right here, a big shot in the building, baby. He's been in the game for a minute, doing some dope comics, indie, big too, and a whole lot more, man. Books that empower, books that are diverse. I mean, everything. My man been around. He's a legend, man. He's a star. All right, so let me bring the man up right now, the one, the only, the incredibly talented Mr. Jamie Whitley. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for wanting to hang out today for a bit and let these good folks out there, our fellow Crusaders and more, know a bit about yourself, what you've done, and what you've got popping. Because I know recently we shared the news about something you're helping work on, through Lifeline Comics, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we got to read it back just a tad for those that are just unaware, as Jeremy. For those that are unaware, how dare you? Because my man's been around with Mad Cave, tight paper cuts, a publisher that we shall not name. I mean, he's done it. He's done it. So for those that don't know, where you OG from? And the most important question you ever be asked: what is the first thing in all of fandom that you fell in love with?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So I am from Durham, North Carolina. I grew up between North Carolina and California, across the country. And I've been a fan of comics and nerdy stuff, all these things since I was a little kid. I got all that from my dad. I think the thing that I really fell in love with as a kid is, I was coming of age right at that time that the original X-Men animated series was having its big moment. So kids these days don't know about you'd read like 10 books so you could go get a pizza from Pizza Hut and a VHS of the X-Men, because Pizza Hut just had VHSs of the X-Men cartoon. It was like that.
Yeah, man. Oh man, I remember those days. You're right. Holy shit. Going back. When pizza used to serve you.
Oh, absolutely. All those Pizza Huts used to look the same. They had those weird angled windows, and they had the little salad bar and everything in there. Pizza Hut, man.
Yeah, because you need salad with your pizza. I mean,
Yeah, I guess. We don't do it anymore, but they used to be. That was a big thing there. Every Pizza Hut.
Well, they need to roll it back, all right? I mean, come on now, please. The aesthetics are boring nowadays. Everything's bland. Bring back some fun. Come on. Now with that, talking about fun and stuff, growing up, in your nerddom, did you have a tribe or were you the lone wolf?
I think aside from my family, which, is as close as I get, I was sort of a lone wolf in school and everything. But, my dad is, he's a comics kid. He's an old school, J.R.R. Tolkien kid. So he liked the fantasy. He liked sci-fi. He read a little bit of everything. But, him and my mom and my brother and I were always into nerdy stuff. Wandered around. I don't think I really got my tribe of nerdy people till I got to college. But, there's always around.
What better tribe than the family, though? What?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I'd rather have that as my tribe. Why not? Yeah, the most geekiest family in the hood. Hell yeah, why not? What's up, Danny? How you doing? Yeah, for real. That would rock. All right, so how did that you and having this nice tribe within your family, then going to college, and spark the creative side of who you were, or was it always there?
It was always there. I was always trying to write and act and stuff. I was always. That was what I went to school for, for English and creative writing. But even before that, I was a drama kid. I was doing whatever and whenever they'd let me do nerdy creative stuff. Even though I'm from a small town called Lenore in Western North Carolina. That's there's not a lot of nerdy stuff there. Especially wasn't when I was growing up. There was one little comic shop that was like an hour away. and that was all there was there. But yeah, I would do anything they would let me do. And then I got to college, and it's so full of like, college is so full of fun, creative, nerdy stuff to do. So, I would do nothing but when I wasn't writing, I was trying to get into acting and, doing all sorts of stuff and hanging out with all the weird kids.
We got to get you back into acting. Like, what did you get to act, and what was the most thing that you like the most to act in that you've done?
Oof. So I did a class on screenwriting, and we had a couple of different plays that guys in that class did. I did a little short one act play of my own, and then I had a friend who wrote a little play in college that we did that was all about Santa's reindeer. It was a dark comedy about Santa's reindeer, in which I played Dasher, and so that was a real wild, like, experimental, what can we get away with, dark comedy about Christmas kind of thing. That was a lot of fun. And I think ultimately I just found that I liked being the one that got to put the words into the characters' mouths a little more than I liked having to figure out how to say the stuff that other people wrote.
Gotcha. So talk about that then. How did that journey get you into writing comics? Because you were a fan. You say you're doing plays, you're writing some stuff, and now how did that all translate to running on this journey that you've been on with comics? Because you definitely hit the ground running with some pretty cool projects.
Yeah, well, I think like there's a thing that for a long time, I think growing up, I didn't realize that there were separate people that wrote comics and illustrated stuff. I didn't realize that you could be the guy that just did one thing. And so, I went to school. A lot of like creative writing programs are really anti doing any kind of genre stuff, especially comics, but like sci-fi, fantasy, anything like that. And the more creative writing classes I took, the more I was like, that's the kind of stuff I want to do. Give me a chance to do it. I didn't ever want to do that. So I did this thing that I think a lot of English majors do coming out of college. And I worked at Blockbuster for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I ended up starting off myself with a friend of mine who was an artist. We did our first like creator-owned book. It was this book called The Order of Dagonet, which is all about sort of all the mythical creatures of England come back, and the only people who can stop them are the Knights of England, but they're all like modern knights, so they're actors and authors and rock stars. So you got like Ozzy Osbourne and Elton John fighting dragons, that kind of thing.
I mean, I think as many drugs as they took, they've been fighting dragons a long time.
Yeah, that was really sort of like what we were going for. Is like it'd be wild for these guys to be in charge of saving the world, right? Like I barely know what they're doing on a normal day.
Ozzy was just think he's totally lit. I'm fighting dragons today. You see this shit? I'm like, you know what? For the first time I do, Ozzy. Yes, I do.
Yeah, calling Sharon, trying to get some help.
That would be fun. I mean, have you seen him lately? Oh my gosh, bro. Oh man, I hope he stays healthy, man.
Me too. He's getting up there, man. It's surprising with his lifestyle that he's lived as long as he has. But
especially with the recent the spat of legends we've been losing the last few days, Jeremy. What in the heck is going on? They're all being called one per day, apparently. I mean, not even John Amos passed away in August.
Yeah.
We're in October, folks. This is insane that we only find out now. Rest in peace, man. Crazy.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Anyway, so let's get into happier places, folks. Okay. So talk about that book then. Was this pre-crowdfunding and all out of pocket? When you did
it was all out of pocket. We didn't know anything about crowdfunding. This was before Kickstarter was a thing. So
gotcha.
we did this all out of pocket, printed it out of pocket, took it to Baltimore Comic-Con, sold almost nothing. And just kept sort of trooping, taking it places and trying to make something of it. And we got, I think, 4 or 5 issues of it finished. I had a few more written beyond that, but that was what we actually managed to finish while I started working on another project that I was writing with a friend of mine. It's called Princeless. And Princeless ended up sort of, catching fire a little bit. It came out. it came out as a single issue at first, and was sort of struggling, and had a artist who was a friend of mine who didn't really know what they were getting into with comics. They were a graphic designer, and they were like, "Hey man, this is hard. I hate this." But I had a friend, Dave Dwanch, who I was next to at a comic convention, who like heard my pitch on this and really liked the idea. He saw a lot of like potential in it, and he's like, I don't like the art. I was like, good, because that artist doesn't want to do anymore. And he hooked me up with a couple of good artists to work on that book. And then that first volume ended up getting picked up by his company, which ended up being other people's companies eventually. It's a company we don't talk too much about anymore. It doesn't really put out comics anymore. No. They just try to hold on to people's IP.
Sadly, yeah. I've seen some creators get their stuff kind of back. I'm happy to see that. But it's unfortunate that so many got to struggle to get back their own thing. What the F type of world is this? Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. It's messed up. I'm hoping, we're still trying to get that back. Myself and a lot of other creators are still in sort of a lawsuit with Action Lab, trying to get our own books back and be able to actually take stuff out into the world again and get it out there. Because, they didn't do anything that a comic press is supposed to do, like advertising or selling or paying people. The little things like paying people.
Who needs to get paid? You know what I mean? Come on now. Aren't you doing this for free, Jeremy? Aren't you doing this because you like to?
God, man, if I could afford to do it for free, it might be something I would, but man, I gotta pay the bills somehow,
I hear you. So let me ask you something here, because one of the things that you're definitely known for is diversity, representation, and particularly strong female characters. Is it done purposely? You know what I mean? Or it just happen to be the characters you feel more comfortable writing? How do you, why that lane?
It's a little bit of both. I think it started off very purposely. It started off with Princeless, looking for something that was a book that I could share with my daughters, where they could have a princess, a character who was the hero of that book, who looked like themselves, who was a princess, but also a strong young Black woman like themselves. And that was an important thing there for me, and to sort of like break a lot of those same sexist and racial traditions that have been in comic books for a long time. Because the truth is, like, there are more than enough books about guys that look like me. We've been doing it since the 40s, and we could use more. I feel like I could write books that are about women and about people of color my whole life and never catch up to just the number of Spider-Man and Captain America and Superman and Batman books that are out there,
Oh, yeah.
And I think that lent itself some to both me being aware of like how much those books mean to people and how important that stuff is, but also like that's the kind of stuff people seek me out for as well. So they expect a certain sort of diversity. If they're looking for to launch certain types of books, they'll look for me. If they're looking for stuff that's all ages or things like that, they'll come check with me too. But yeah, it's super important to me. I always try to like get a feeling for my audience and people that aren't being represented out there, stuff that people aren't doing, and find new spots to creatively make things better, which I think is a lot of where, especially my most recent book, which is called Navigating with You, came out of.
Oh, nice. But all right, so before we get to that latest one, let's start getting into what's in the middle there. So how did Princeless help you, in your journey? Did it help open up more doors with other publishers?
Oh yeah, it definitely opened up specifically a door with IDW, who was doing their, My Little Pony comics at that point. Who have been doing that for the last 10 years. So, they sort of saw me, somebody who was doing creative stuff that's for a young, largely female audience, and that was who they were aiming for. And so I picked that up, and I've done a lot of issues of that. I think I'm up to, it's close to 60 now, issues of My Little Pony comics.
Oh, wow. Were you a brony before you got approached to do My Little Pony?
I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I don't really consider myself a brony. I watched the show with my daughter, who was 3 at the time. It was a thing where I was absolutely like, she was trying to watch Dora the Explorer and stuff like that, and I feel like My Little Pony was like that saved me, right? Because I was like, oh, this is actually funny. It's well written. It's got good characters.
Cool.
It's so much better than Dora is the same like 4 songs every time, and it's got that same repetitive pattern. Yeah, that show drove me nuts because once you've seen an episode of Dora, you've seen all the episodes of Dora.
I love it. You know who used to drive me nuts with my daughter, because I'm also a girl dad. It was Caillou. I hated that little bastard.
I managed to dodge Caillou, but yeah,
he was a bad boy. He's a bad influence. I ain't like Caillou. Bad influence.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, he was though. He was. I'm witness. My daughter started doing it. I said, and then one day I was watching a show with her. I said, wait a minute. She did that. And I said, no more Caillou. Banned. All right. I think it's so. What's been some of your favorite projects you worked on after that? Besides the Brony, have you expanded even further? I mean, well, what experiences have you had? Because again, stepping into something you loved as a kid, and now you're in it. You're swimming in it, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I've written quite a bit of stuff. I got to do a relaunch of Rainbow Bright at one point, which was something that was big when I was a kid. Yeah, I've gotten to write some crossover stuff for video games like Sea of Thieves. Obviously, I think probably my biggest thing that people know me for is working at Marvel and doing Unstoppable Wasp over there, which was very successful. I mean, it so successful it got canceled twice. But they canceled it and then brought it back and did another thing to cancel it. So some books only get canceled once.
Hey, bro. I mean, listen, that only happens in TV world with Family Guy.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? What's it, Futurama? How many times?
Oh yeah,
come back.
Like half a dozen now. But yeah, that one was a lot of fun, and I got to play around in the Marvel universe, and also like we did this thing in the back of every episode where we interviewed actual female scientists, to sort of crossover between the worlds of the comics and actual scientists in the world, which was really cool. And I met a lot of really neat people through that. And that book, I still have people come up and talk to me about that book every time I do a convention. It's been, hadn't been on the shelves in at least 5 years.
Oh wow! We're going to be talking about cons too real soon. And then you're also doing something right now that I actually got to share on Comic Crusaders, not a few days ago, 7 days ago to be exact. And it is a project through the Lifeline Comics, Ringo nominated, a new anthology. You want to talk a bit about this? What's going on here?
Yeah, so they do a lot of comics about diverse communities, especially LGBTQ communities. They've done stuff specifically with bi identities and with trans identities, and they've been wanting to start an anthology book with people from the asexual spectrum, ace spectrum. And they talked to me about this because I had just done, I did a story for Marvel last year, I believe it was, with Gwenpool, where she came out as ace. And there was a whole, with that, we had a whole team of people who were on the ace spectrum. It's a wide sort of birth of sexualities and stuff. So, they wanted to give voice to those and have more of those because it's been very rare. Gwen was one of the first. I think within the Marvel universe, she's the first out asexual character, and so it's been, I think, something that's been missing from a lot of stories and a lot of comics out there. So we're really wanting to put together an anthology of it. We're going to be accepting submissions. I think it's up through the end of November. So anybody that wants to submit, it's that just has to be part of the story is the ace identity. It doesn't have to necessarily be about being ace, but it has to be have characters who are who identify as or are ace, whether it's a fun genre story, or whether it's a slice of life, just something autobiographical you want to write a story about. It's we're pretty wide open, but we want to get some cool new creators and existing creators on here, and tell the sort of stories that aren't getting told.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Look, folks, the deadline is actually on the website. All right, so the plan is by up to November 24th is when submissions will close. Script for samples are due. January 6th, emails sent if you made it into anthology. I guess that's supposed to be 25, not 24.
Yeah.
Then in May, hopefully the completed comics should be turned in. So that way, by June, there's a Kickstarter launch in 2025. And guess what, folks? In order for you to submit, there is a link right there on the website. Use that link right there. It's clickable. The words "the link." All right, just go there and submit. See what's popping. See what you could do, and to help produce this amazing anthology that Jeremy's working on.
Yeah, and it does pay. You can see all the rates right there on the thing. So it is. If you're a writer, you submit a script that's 2, 4, 6, or 8 pages, and then if you're an artist and you want to be part of it, you just submit sort of like your resume, other stuff that you've done, so people can see your art samples. And then if you want to do both, you can pitch for both, or if you just want to if you want to write your story, or you want to do art for somebody else's story, just go on there and submit for it. And we're excited to have a ton of people on this, and give people a chance to tell stories that don't always get out there.
I love it. See, there's compensation for work, folks. All right, see that right there. Writers $30 per page, artists $80, colorists $40. I mean, it's paper to be made if you're serious. It's time to mix up some money. Well, you got a story to tell. As he says, stop sitting on it. Time to let it go. Let's go. I want to read these stories. All right. So now talk to me about something else, because you're doing a lot. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you're running this, you're writing, you're creating. Now, and you also have a podcast, Progressively Horrified podcast. Talk to me. What is this show all about, and how often do you drop an episode?
So this was something that started out as a pandemic project for myself and a couple of comics friends of mine who all like horror stuff, but haven't always felt like we're part of the horror community that's out there, right? There's, I think, a reputation in the community of it being kind of bro-y. It's all about splatter and girls getting chased and stabbed and stuff like that. And I think there's a wide variety of stuff out there, and a wide variety of people who like it. So what we started doing is sitting down, and every week we watch a movie, a scary movie. We do everything all up and down the spectrum. So the real the stuff that people call elevated horror, the things that are coming out now, all the way to Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We talk about all this stuff. But we also sit down and we critique it the same way that people do books or other types of movies, where we sit down and talk about what the politics of it are, like what it's trying to say, what it does it have anything progressive that we can pick up from it and learn from it. Because I think there are a lot of progressive politics in horror movies, and you learn a lot about people's politics by what they're afraid of, what kind of stuff they they show being scary out there. So yeah, we sit down and try and find progressive politics in horror movies, and also we just joke around and pick fun at stuff and have a good time enjoying horror.
If you tell me you're trying to find meaning in something, so tell me, what does it mean when somebody gets punched in the stomach and with a hook that gets then put onto their head and then pulled through and then kicked down a cliff? What's the message?
I don't know. I mean, it depends who's getting it put through. Is it a cop? Is it a
psychiatrist? It was a girl that was running away from the killer. This movie just dropped over the summer. Why am I forgetting this? Oh, In a Violent Nature. Have you seen that?
We haven't talked about that one yet, but that's actually coming up on our list in the next couple of months.
Yeah, but Kill of the Year for me, baby. Kill of the Year. That's what I'm looking for. That shit had me on my holy shit. The last time I did one of these in a movie was what's that one? The Human Centipede.
Oh boy.
Oh my God, disgusting film.
Absolutely.
Have you talked about that one?
We haven't talked about that one, but yeah, that's a wild one.
Listen, my ex-wife didn't appreciate the first one, but she got through it. when she heard there was a sequel, she says, "I'm not watching this." And one day she sees me watching it, she just stops and looks at the screen, looks at me, and she goes, "You're a sicko," and just walks away. You know. And literally, because I was like this most of the movie, like, oh my God, what is wrong with people? Anyway.
Yeah, we watched plenty of those where you gotta like kind of make sure nobody is around, and some of the stuff it's like I don't know, I don't want somebody to walk in and just see me watching this scene without having seen the rest of it.
My father got caught by my mom watching the Cannibal Holocaust scene where call a scene when they take the privates off. My mother just happened. She goes, "Why are you always watching these nasty things like this?" He goes, "I swear to God, you always come at the wrong time."
Yeah, every once in a while we'll have we'll have something that's on our list that nobody's seen, and we'll have a guest volunteer to try something out. And every once in a while, it's something like our friend T. Franklin came on to talk about Titan, which is this French horror movie that's it has a lot of wild stuff that happens in it, but among those things are a woman gets impregnated by a car. Yeah, and it also just has the most like painful scene I've ever seen of like her trying to escape the cops by like changing the way she looks, so she like breaks her nose intentionally on screen, and it's the most like painful looking nose break I've ever seen.
Well, what was that movie that came out with the young lady from X? Oh my God, that just came out. Mia Goth, the last one she did. I think that has the most painful male scene in the history of cinema.
Is that the Maxine?
Yeah, that has a scene there, man, that will leave every man on earth gasping for breath.
I look forward to that. That one is on my list. I've seen the first two, X and Pearl, but I haven't seen Maxine yet.
Oh, don't you worry. When you see that scene, you're gonna know what the hell I'm talking about. You won't be left breathless, and you're gonna DM me out of nowhere. Al, I can't breathe. Yo, that shit had me, boy. I said, oh my God. I even told my dad, I said, you like 6 scenes? This scene's gonna murder you then. All right, so talk to me. Okay, so great. So how often does the podcast drop?
Every week.
Every week. Is that every day? Every Wednesday? Like what?
Every Friday.
You hear this, folks? Every Friday. Is there a specific time that it drops?
It's first thing in the morning. So as soon as you get up, it's 5 a.m. Eastern time. We put it out.
Wonderful. You can eat your breakfast and hear about horror movies and deaths and slashings. Wonderful. Love it. Love it. So, all right. So talk about the convention scene. What's popping for you, for the remainder of 2024?
Oh, I think it's probably just New York for me. I have done, this has been my first week off in a while. I did 5 conventions in 6 weeks a little while back. So I did, I've done, I did FlameCon, DragonCon. I did a couple of My Little Pony conventions. I went all the way out to Germany to do a My Little Pony convention.
Germany, whoa. Yeah. How's the scene out there?
It's interesting because it's in a little, that convention is in a little town called Weiblingen. It's a tiny, like, old walled German city. It's just like this nice little village. We were staying above this, like, 5-star restaurant. It's a cute little place. Lots of good food, lots of good people.
Excellent. All right. I like to see it. It's a small town. Great. All right. So a local con in a sense for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's big for them, and it's like, it pulls in people from all over Europe. So, there were people there from everywhere from England to Russia just come over for this show. So,
whoa, dope. That's cool. All right, back. All right, so we'll get into the convention is in New York. Are you tabling in New York?
I won't be tabling, but I will be doing signings of my new book, Navigating with You at Mad Cave, and I'll probably be doing some signings with IDW for pony stuff as well, and otherwise just wandering around and hanging out with cool people.
Do you know when the signings are? Because I'll be at New York, so do you know what time signings are? And the
times aren't locked in yet, but I'm sure they'll probably have me there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for at least a couple hours. They'll probably announce the actual hours, I think, the week before the show.
So actually, well, once they announce it, I'm definitely sharing that on comiccrusaders.shop, so everybody knows where to go. A lot of publishers already announced some of their things, so I can't really see what the smaller publishers and indie publishers are doing, and see what the big plans are. 'Cause I know Mad Cave has been definitely killing it. They've been having a hell of a year and getting some pretty
Yeah.
cool IPs and amazing talent. You know what I mean? So now this book they were is it out now?
Yeah, Navigating with You is out right now. It is a book that just came out about a month ago now. It is YA romance. It's about two girls that fall in love over their shared love of obscure manga. So, they both got into this manga as a kid that neither of them ever found all the volumes for. They're kind of out of print and hard to find. So they decide to bond together and form this book club, and they're going to track down all the volumes of this manga and read them together. And over the course of the story, they sort of get wrapped up in each other's lives and become, best friends and sort of more than friends on top of that. And it's a really cool because Casio Ribeiro, the artist on it, really did some amazing stuff, both in the regular stuff, but also you get clips of the manga in there. So you get, 3 or 4 pages of the stuff that they're reading that you can see what they're reading as well. And he did the art for that too. And it's 2 completely different styles, and they're both amazing.
So are we possibly even going to get a spin-off of that manga story within that book?
I would love to do that. I think Mad Cave would have to figure out if they thought they could really sell it. But I would love to do that. It would be a lot of fun.
That sounds really cool because then reading about a book within a different world and how those characters. Oh man, hell yeah! And I kind of like that concept. Let's finish a collection together. That's a great hunt. Regardless of top or whatever. I mean, that shit is dope. I mean, they say me with the Conan. I'm trying to finish his 70s run. At least I got number 2. But guess where number 2 had to come from? The UK. Big shout out to my boy Johnny for finding it out there because apparently, it's not easy to get the number 2 over the number 1 for whatever reason. But I got it.
Nice.
Do you have a particular run that you're a fan of as a collector? Because you say you're a comic book geek. Is there a particular comic book run that you collect and or are trying to finish?
That's a good question. For a while, it was. I think I've actually just finished it because I got the new one. But there's Terry Moore had a series that he wrote called Strangers in Paradise. Ooh. It's sort of like a black and white. It's a combination of like a romance and there's a spy story in there as well. It's pretty wild, but like it had originally come out in these big, trade paperbacks in black and white, and I had gotten a couple of these at a pawn shop way back in the day, but I hadn't been able to find the rest of the story. They recently republished it in digest, and I was like, well, that's nice and all, but I want the ones that match the stuff I got already. So I was going around to, cons and shops and picking up the last couple ones of those. And I think I finished the run, and then it was just its 25th anniversary. So they did he did a follow-up story with the characters. And I just was on a panel with him at Baltimore Comic Con and, picked up that 25th anniversary. So it's going to tuck in right there. I'll have the whole run I can read.
Excellent. Oh, all right. That's another question. Again, you said you were a fan of comics growing up, and obviously you're in it, swimming, like I said. Look, you just hanging out with, with Terry. Have you met any particular hero that you grew up reading?
Yeah, I've met a lot of people who really inspired my writing. Some of them I've gotten to be friends with, which is really cool. I've gotten to be good friends with Matt Fraction and Kelly Sudaconic, who's work like Fraction's work on Iron Fist. Him and Ed Brubaker was one of the first books that I just kind of like when I was getting back into comics, stumbled on and was like, oh no, this is the one that nobody knows about. That like this is my book. This is so cool. And that was one of those. I think I've had a lot of like cool experiences of meeting, people like Gail Simone, like Greg Rucka. And then I'm friends with Gail and was sitting next to her at a convention. And I think the wildest thing I've had happen at one of those things is sitting next to Gail. I had somebody come up and just touch me on the shoulder and be like, "Hey, can I use your other chair? Are you using this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, Chris Claremont, you can have my other chair. That's fine." So yeah, he was just sort of like sitting down to talk to Gail Simone, and I was like, sitting by Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont's at my table. That's normal. Just trying not to freak out about it.
Yeah, I got to meet him. What was that? A Terrificon. Really cool, man. Really cool. Definitely a legend. I love so much love being shown his way by fans. Yo, man, impactful. That was my era X-Men and shit. You know, oh fuck, bro. Woof. Again, but you're impactful. You're doing some shit. So, what's next in the house besides the Lifeline? Besides the book you pimping with Matt Cave, we got anything exciting that you can talk about? Tease, especially for 2025.
So. Well, wrapping up 2024, I've got a My Little Pony mini series, which is actually going to be, I think, the end of this generation of My Little Pony stuff. It's called The Storm of Zephyr Heights. That's coming out. The first issue just came out, and this will be coming out through the end of the year. And then I think next year, what people should see is I'll have the third book of my School for Extraterrestrial Girls series coming out. Hopefully, we'll have the second book of The Dog Knight. Got some other surprises and stuff I can't talk about yet, but I'm actually hoping also that we'll get the story that I co-wrote with my podcast co-host Ben. It's called The Dashing School for Wayward Boys or Wayward Princes. It's sort of a fun adventure story. Somebody was telling me that I think it might be the first one of my creator-owned stories that has boys as the main characters instead of girls. So it's really stretching now.
Oh man, awesome! Great to see this again, diversifying everything, getting your stuff done, staying indie, rolling hard, rocking hard, and what type of advice would you give to other independent creators out there, based on the journey you've had?
My biggest advice to people is always just to do it. There's a lot of people online on Twitter, wherever, that say they're aspiring writers. And the thing is, you don't ever want to be an aspiring writer. Just be a writer. Just write something. You can be an aspiring published writer, but nothing gets done when you're aspiring to write. Just do it. Some of it's going to be bad. You got to get rid of the bad stuff to get to the good stuff. Just keep going, make stuff. That's the only way to get people to hire you to make stuff.
Jeremy, that should go into your Progressively Horrified podcast as a t-shirt. # make stuff. That's it.
Absolutely.
It's true. There's work on it. No one stopped me. I learned how to code when you had to learn how to code. So before WordPress. Thank goodness for WordPress. Jesus. Man, I had a code. That shit wasn't easy back in the day. I had to learn the hard way. But now I'm better off, thank God. But everything else, it's like that. Just learn, do your thing, keep applying yourselves, guys, because you could make it. Seeing Jeremy's had an amazing journey thus far, going through indie, touching, amazing publishers. Look out for New York Comic Con, you heard, all right, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. So you said either it's going to be both the IDW and Mad Cave booth, right? We just don't know times yet.
Definitely Mad Cave, IDW probably a couple times as well, but I'm sure Mad Cave will probably be at least a couple times a day. So yeah, check with them and grab my book and get it signed for you.
You heard. Grab that book, make it rain. Check out the Lifeline Comics thing as well, the anthology. I have the article on comiccrusadersworld.com, and the links are all there for you to go ahead and submit. You know what I mean? So if you get picked, you can make some paper and get your story out there. Yeah, that's what this is all about. Jeremy's out there doing everything. He's the writer of that thing and doing the thing and just rocking the thing. So awesome, Jeremy. Thank you for hanging out. Just talking about what you do. Sharing what you do, folks. Look how easy it is to follow this man. He makes life easier. Instagram and actually go to JRome58, right? LinkedIn is Jeremy S. Whitley, all right? Or fancy, sounds British. Jeremy S. Whitley. And then at BlueSky, it'll be just Jeremy Whitley. All right, please check out the website, jeremywhittley.com. Now, on the website, What are they going to see there? Can we buy stuff, goodies? Can we make it rain? What's going on?
It'll keep you up to date with all the stuff I got coming out and give you links where you can buy everything that I got going on.
So you got to go over there and make it rain, right? And of course, drop it every Friday morning, so that way as you eat your breakfast or you're driving to work, whatever it is, you can catch up on horror at the Progressively Horrified podcast every Friday. Jeremy and his boys get together, and talk horror. So make it happen. Tune in. So you got podcasts to listen to and comic books to buy. This man is keeping you occupied for real. There we go. I dig it. Jeremy, you rock. My Crusaders, all of you guys that were tuning in, I appreciate you all over X and YouTube. Thank you. You guys are amazing. You know it is, but stop being so shy. You guys got to come. You guys got boss level people here. You can ask questions, and they'll be more than happy to answer those. So let's just make it happen. Stop being so shy, darn it. And with that, I'm Al Mega, amazing Jeremy Whitley. Love you, get Crusaders. Hasta la próxima, baby. Well.
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.